Content warning, intrusive thoughts. The metallic taste on your tongue. You never forget it. It lingers as you recoil. But maybe you don't. The iron mixing with the foul stench of sulphur as the door slides open and unceremoniously dumps you onto the floor of a screeching plane ship. I remember my name, Tenebra, and that familiar taste of blood. Upon the honour of my name, I pledged vengeance against all evildoers, and that I would rain destruction upon them. The craft is a horror show. I remember the creature seizing the aqueous humour of my eyeballs and forcing its way in. And as I saw the pool where this tadpole had come from, I couldn't help but reach closer as it shattered into caustic fragments in front of me. No sooner had I fled from that than a grim surgical suite came into view. Shelves and shelves lined with brains, and one even talking to me. I could feel it try to worm its way into my head until I could bear it no longer and crushed it with my hands. The brains on the wall felt my wrath next. The sight seared into my mind as their acid bit into my flesh. Somewhat stunned, I left the chamber to see the endless plains of Avernus stretching out before me. A glorious battle taking place with dragons fighting devils, fighting illithid ships. As I watched, a Githyanki warrior ambushed me before our minds linked thanks to the parasite in both our heads. These would slowly and painfully change us into mind flayers, she said, before charging headfirst into a crowd of imps, swinging her sword with beautiful abandon. Heading back into the ship, we saw a table with buttons sitting under 3 sigils, and a crowd of people arrayed before us staring vacantly into the middle distance. One of these sigils read aggression, another annihilate, and the third neither Lae'zel nor I could understand. So naturally, I pressed the annihilate button. The humans looked so peaceful one moment and so beautiful the next, as their heads sundered open, gushing cerebral fluid over the floor in waves of crimson spectacle. I was shaken out of this reverie by a woman crying out from inside a pod, much like the one I had woken from. I cannot describe it fully, but I felt compassion for her. Compassion and a fury to inflict agony on those who had imprisoned us here. The pod was locked by a magical device, but fortunately, a nearby door was opened by one of their brain dogs. It was not long for this world, but it did lead us to a rune which fit snugly inside the magical device. I did not know how it worked at first, but then I felt authority channel from inside my head, and the device bent to my will and released her. Much like with Lae'zel, I felt a connection with Shadowheart. Is it the tadpole? Is that why I could open the pod? Shadowheart does not seem to trust Lae'zel. However, I don't understand why. Lae'zel is a fine warrior. Shadowheart also seemed to be rather secretive about one of her possessions in particular. However, we managed to make it to the helm as a group, and there was a battle between our illithid captors and some devils that were assaulting us. We would not let the mind flayers escape, but the devils were a more imminent threat. We took down its minions and finally slew their commander when the treacherous illithid turned on us. A dragon bearing down on me, I groped for the transponder and plunged us out of the hells where I was flung from the ship, only to be saved from certain death by a mysterious force.